all about clutch hitting with runners in scoring position. That is the difference this year between the Detroit Tigers Cleveland Guardians series. Of course, yesterday, game three, Detroit Tigers hit with runners in scoring position. They got runners in with two outs in that series where the Guardians have now gone 20 scoreless innings. They have not scored since David Fry hit the double in the bottom of the fifth to make it 7-0. Detroit, obviously, yesterday winning it 3-0. Then you had the Francisco Lindor grand slam. And again, the Philadelphia Phillies, they had opportunities. And, with the power bats, the likes of JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos in New York, those last two games, the Mets shut down the Phillies offense. Of course, Mets winning it yesterday 4-1. Quality pitching. And again, for the Mets, the ability to hit with runners in scoring position yesterday for the Yankees. And again, Aaron Judge has not done a lot in this series. Kansas City's been putting him on. How about Juan Soto, Carlos Stanton? Their power bats coming through. They're able to hit with runners in scoring position. Kansas City is not. They win it 3-2. And then you got the Dodgers last night smacking the Padres, playing of desperation. And, really the interesting thing that I have found early on about this MLB postseason is we're going to get a game five between the Dodgers and Padres. We'll see if we get a game five between the Royals, Yankees, Guardians, Tigers. Those game fours are today. Is in the National League, right? You got all the stars, you got all the big markets. You got in that Dodgers Padres series, obviously, stars galore. Betts, Otani, Ortiz, Machado, Darvish, Kershaw, just to name a few in that series. Of course, as I mentioned in the other week, you had guys like Lindor, Pete Alonso, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, obviously tons of more stars. In the American League, yes, you have the Yankees, which of course Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Garrett Cole. You got the Guardians, who Jose Ramirez, I would feel like it's a star. You got the star closer, Emmanuel Clase. Josh Naylor is coming on. For Detroit, obviously, Scooble, their Cy Young candidate, who was excellent in game two. Kerry Carpenter, I think, is getting up there. Obviously, their clutch hitter who hit the free run homer in game two off Emmanuel Clase on a 3-2 slider. As I talked about on Tuesday's show, did not love the fact that Stephen Vogt what Clase coming for multiple innings. I'm just not a believer in using your closer in different situations like that. Obviously, on the Kansas City side, they really, outside of Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr., don't have a lot, especially on their pitching staff. Logo, who went last night, again, he did a decent job at navigating around traffic, but giving up those early runs. And that's always been the key in baseball, obviously, is scoring first. Really, it was a tale of can the team jump out? And if they did, and then the team that jumped out yesterday, really in all four games, outside of the Phillies, who, again, they put them one run and, they hoped their pitching would just carry them through, and they made one mistake to the grand slam to Francisco Lindor. But that is playoff baseball. And the ability to overcome ups and downs, the ability to negate crooked innings. That's what the Mets put up yesterday in New York was crooked innings. Now the Mets are obviously going to take on the winner of Padres Dodgers, which in LA in game five, we know San Diego already won there in game two. We know they're not afraid of the Dodgers. I mean, their fans got into basically a fight and were throwing things on the field in game two. Those are real rivals. That feels like a Yankees Red Sox as rivalry to me over there in the National League. The fact they have played now in the postseason in 2020, in 2022, and now in 2024. To me, that's going to be an intense game. Tanner Bybee today goes on the mound for Cleveland. We'll see if he can duplicate his performance from game one. For the Guardians, obviously, they have the best bullpen in baseball, and the bullpen was really good again yesterday. Yeah, Eli Morgan gave up the run. But the Guardians, they had multiple opportunities. Fifth inning, two men on, nobody out. Third inning, two men on, one out. Seventh inning, two men on. David Fry, it's that bullet. If that gets through down the third baseline, the Guardians may score two runs. It may be a different game. So the Tigers have played an incredible defense. But again, the lack of hitting with runners in scoring position cost Philadelphia their series, cost the Royals yesterday. Now they got to come back. They got to beat the Yankees two in a row, one of them in Kansas City, one of them in the Bronx. I actually think that short run porch could benefit Kansas City as well. We saw how dominant they were in game two, and they were this close to winning game one. So that's been obviously a very even series. It's not been a blowout each side. But this ALCS and the NLCS, very competitive series, I believe, whichever side it's going to be. I have no idea, again, who's going to win this series at this point. Even though the Tigers are up 2-1, right? You got Aaron Bybee going today, and then who knows? Guardians get a second look at Aaron Skubal. He really hasn't had a bad game all year, but what if Skubal's just a tiny bit off, right? What if you make him work that pitch count? What if you get him out in the fourth or fifth inning? If that game starts at 4:30 because the Royals Yankees game has to go to a game five, is that advantage pitchers because you're in the shadow? If it's at night, do the Guardians get an advantage because they're not in the shadow early? They can jump on Scooble. I've talked about it where home field in baseball doesn't matter that much. We've seen that so far this postseason. We've seen, I believe, a road team in every series has gone on, obviously, now to win a game. So it's doing it in my head. Obviously, Mets won game one, Padres won game two in LA, Yankees, obviously, last night in Kansas City, and then Detroit game two in Cleveland. So, very fascinating. Um, I can't wait to see how this plays out. And by this time next week, Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the ALCS game one. I believe the NLCS game two would have already happened. So it's been a thrilling postseason. Strap on your seats. Even though these guys are down 2-1, these series are not over yet. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.